welcome to the Tuesday evening class. In this class, I will be showing you two of my games from recently concluded World, Rapid, and Blitz championships. In the first game, I'm playing one of the top players in the world, Praggnanandhaa. As you can see from his rating, 2761. He is among the top 8 players in the world. He will be playing in the upcoming candidate tournament. So I'm white, and I like the Blitz format, also enjoy the Rapid, so I was very excited to get to play against a strong opponent. At the moment, I'm doing all right. I have 2 points out of 3, so, and the white pieces. It's important to get the white pieces when you're playing against top players, because you can play your favorite opening, try to get like a solid position. So I open up the game with d4. He plays knight f6, knight f3. I've been playing this move first. This knight f3 move prevents some ideas like e5 if they want to play like a Budapest gambit or some other ideas. Yeah. So he goes e6. Now, c4. Now we transpose. Okay? Transpose into the Queen's Indian, or you can play the Bogo. So you play the move bishop before check. This game I lost, so this will be a loss, guys. So it's not a game that I won, okay? So you see, sometimes I show games that I lost, but I was winning. You will see there were 2 occasions where I had a really, really big advantage. Okay, bishop d2, normal. Again, there's different moves you can play. You can play this move. It's a theoretical move. You can also play the move knight c3. I was just trying to get a solid position out of the opening. So I play bishop d2, now he plays a3. So I can play g3 here, e3 here, you can play knight c3. There are just so many moves you can play here. So just lots of theory. My idea was just to get out of the opening as soon as I can. Doesn't have to be like a, advantage or something, just something that I'm comfortable with. So I played a3, remove this bishop, queen takes. You do not want to take back with a knight here, because the knight will be a little bit passive here. And black usually just plays the move d5, and this position is going to be hard to get anything, because c5 is coming here pretty quickly, and should just be an equality. So he takes, I take. Now he goes here, knight c2. So here black has 2 different options how he can continue here. He can continue with the move d5, which is a perfectly fine move, or he can continue here with the move that he did, d6. This is a little bit more kind of a compact system here. He wants to play with the e5. So in the previous tournament, the Rapid and Blitz, I had somebody else play like this. So I had a couple of ideas here. In fact, it's a little funny here. The strongest move by the computers here, engines, h3. It seems really strange, right? What's the purpose of this move? Now he plays e5, which is a normal. And here apparently g4 you play. And this gives white an advantage. In this particular game, I didn't want to play like this, because I thought this might play into my opponent's style, sharp tactical play. So I didn't go for it. But according to the engines here, I can even turn it on here for a second. So this gives white some small advantage. I analyzed with the stronger engines than this one here. And the point is you play bishop g2, and you might even go for a long castle at some point. I say, okay, I will probably do this later in another game maybe. I played e3. He plays e5. So the idea here is, at some point he wants to play e4. And most likely he will play e4 here, because if he plays e4 here, my knight doesn't have a good square to go to. If his pawn was on e6, I can just go bishop e2 castle. But here, I felt like I need to develop my bishop. I didn't see what I can do that will be better than that. So I play here.
So
now,
what about queen c2?
You can play queen c2, but again, you too much movement with the queen. You move 1, 2. I was worried about something like this, honestly. And now he wants to take on f3. And then he wants to take on d4. So if you play e4, I go knight d2.
I was going to put bishop e2 here, but
Well, bishop e2,
or knight d2, and I'm
take.
right. Gonna be sad here. 'Cause
Well,
I was going to say knight takes, but it's
You
not.
can't take
We
like
don't-
this
right, we
because
don't-
of
yeah,
this.
course.
It's
Has to be
bad.
knight takes, but
Take with the knight, yeah, but I don't think,
white's not can't be much better here.
yeah, I don't think we have done much here. It's probably just equal. So I say, okay, I'm just going to just develop, just try to catch up on my development here, and of course he plays the move e4. Because it looks kind of good for black now because the knight doesn't have the usual square to go to. So here I have to play on some other squares this knight. And I have two options here, okay? I have two options in this position. I play the move knight g1 because I was familiar with this idea. But you can also play the move knight g5 because you're attacking this right away. Now rook e8, protecting. Now you play h4 because you know the black is going to play the move h6, and that gives you a nice idea to reroute the knight to h3 and then to f4. And if he takes, you can take back with the rook. Okay? Advantage for white, slight advantage. So after h4, if he plays the move h3 first, then I can go here, knight to h3. And now my knight is coming to f4. Okay? If you play bishop h3, I go g takes h3. I can even go long castle, and I can use the g file for attacking purposes. So this actually looks very, very good for white, this position. e4 pawn is not that well protected also. But mainly I just go long castle, rook g1, rook g3, double up the rooks, and try to attack. And if he doesn't take on h3, I go knight f4. So very likely, if I have an opportunity, I can play this again in the future. There is a chance that it will happen. In this game, I went knight g1. So now, since I play the French defense, a lot of these structures are familiar. So I go bishop d1, getting that square for the knight. Look at the knight comes in here. b4, getting some space advantage on that side of the board. Castles. Bishop c2. And now he plays h5. He's trying to create some attacking ideas. But again, this is not a type of positions where white should sit. White should try to do something here because he wants to play knight g6, h4, h3. So I figure here maybe it's a good time to play the move d5. Okay? Play the move d5 because now I'm threatening to take. If he plays c5, then we take, and now we have the protected pass pawn, which is great. And if he doesn't take, I can take on c6. I also calculated the idea, if he takes me here, I simply play knight takes d5. If he takes here, queen takes d5, and attacking the bishop. Okay? So I was happy with this. So he play h4, I take, he take, h3. Important to stop him from playing h3, because if he has h3, then I have some problems with the f3 square. So I stopped him first. This is a very nice advantage for white here already. I go rook fd1, putting pressure on d6, knight d4, rook ac1, bringing my last piece. And so again, he doesn't have any good moves here. If I just sit here, he doesn't have any good moves in this position. Because he can now move this knight that's hanging, he can now bring this guy, this pawn is hanging. Pieces cannot move, so he ended up playing a6, because there's not much he can do here. I say, okay, let me repeat to c, because I know I've played this top players enough times that I know that they always try to play for a win, regardless of the position. Even if it's like worse, they want to play for a win. So I said, let me see what they will do. I go there, he goes here. I go here. I'm clearly better here. So, but I want to see if he's going to continue repeating or not. So now, if he goes bishop a5, I can choose. I can repeat, make a draw, or I can do something else. I like my position enough, so I was going to play, if he repeats here, I was going to play the move a4. Because I always have the repetition here. I'm better here. So, but now he plays for a win. But that's, again, this move, it can be improving his position because it's going backwards. Okay, then I push. But I want to ask you a question here, in this position. A question here is, this is the first moment here where I have a very strong move. Okay? Very strong move here.
You should turn off the moves on the side, because we can see, I can see the...
How do we turn it off?
If you click the sandwich icon on the bottom right, the hamburger icon, the 3 lines.
This?
Yep. And then you can...
We want
Because I can see the line that's been suggested.
we want to make sure it doesn't change anything. Okay, if we go here, what do we do?
Perfect. It just doesn't show.
Is this okay? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, just want to make sure because it's recorded. Okay. All right, there we go. Now you don't see it.
Right, I mean, I see the move, but...
You have sharp eyes. All right, what is the move though?
F4.
Okay.
It makes sense though.
F4. This is a very strong move. From the first appearance, it doesn't look like why this is so strong. The point here is you take away his only active idea to play knight e5. If he doesn't take en passant, he doesn't have any good plan in this position. Like 0 plan he has. He cannot move this knight, the pawn will be hanging. This knight, where is he going to reroute this knight? He can never play the move knight e5. And I'm slowly preparing my a4, b5. I can go a4, a5, knight a4, knight b6. I have lots of play here. I can take my time if I want to. So of course the critical line is if he takes en passant. And it may seem like, why am I doing this? I'm opening up my king here. But there's a very important move here you're going to do first. Very important in between move here we have
Bishop g6.
Bishop g6, damaging the pawn structure. He takes back, and now we take back. And say, thank you for that. And now, just look at the pawns here for black. Weakness, 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 weakness. He doesn't have any good pawns left on the board. And now he's actually losing material here. And evaluation is about a 2-pawn advantage here for white. He has got no counterplay and no good moves in this position. F4 is it's a move that's kind of hard to find in a blitz game, you know? Like you kind of want to keep things under control, but F4 is just extremely strong move. Positional. Maybe in a classical game I can find this move. Maybe in a rapid if I have enough time, but in a blitz game it's kind of hard to find. But again, knowing about this idea will help in the future. You know, that this kind of idea exists. You go there, and if he takes en passant, you just take on g6. You have a nice advantage. So, oops, sorry. Okay, I end up playing the move knight e2, bishop c8. I play a4. That was the first moment where it would have given me a really big winning advantage. Now I play a4. I say, okay, I'm going to play b5. I'm going to create my own pass pawn there. His piece is on a back rank. His knights cannot move. What can he do here? So he chooses to play d5. No problem. b5. We make the break on this side of the board. He takes. I take. Now I'm ready to take on c6. He takes on b5. Knight takes d5, attacking the queen. Takes cd. So now we have a strong pass pawn on d5, and we're ready to push d6. We also have a knight c3 idea, attacking here and attacking here to do a double attack. So he goes bishop b7, push. d6 now, attacking the queen. He goes here, queen g5. And this is the critical moment of the game. During the game, I knew I have a very big advantage because the pass pawn on d6 it's not a joke. That's a strong pass pawn. And my pieces are placed very well. I need to activate my light square bishop, of course. But just to give you an example, if we just take these 2 knights off the board, black just is completely lost. There's just absolutely zero plan for black in this position if these knights are off the board. But this knight wants to come to e5 and jump in here, some jumping ideas here, okay? Again, so that's what I should have think about a little bit. I played the natural looking move here. It ended up being a mistake. But if you play correctly here, you have a a 2-pawn winning advantage here. So I want to ask you to spend some time here and find the best move. So take your time and try to find the best move. White to play. Since now I told you what he wants to do, we have to figure out some ideas to try to make that knight e5 move less attractive for him. Which one?
Queen d4.
Queen d4. Okay.
Knight e5, bishop e4, bishop e4, queen e4, knight
Okay.
c4.
Let's pause for a second. Let's pause for a second. There is a rook a4 idea there, right? If you take on e4. You gotta watch out for that rook a4 idea. A queen d4 is a good move. Queen d4 is a good move, but there is a better version of that move that doesn't block anything. You still have everything open. What's the other version of that move?
Queen c3, right, but
Queen c3, you're running into some rook ac8 ideas too. Because b5 pawn is weak too, right? Don't forget the b5 pawn. Yeah, the move is queen b4. This is a mistake. Queen b4 actually just wins the game here, because his knight e5 loses the strength this move. Okay. So let's say he, what is he gonna play? Like he doesn't have like rook a, everything is covered here. Right. So knight e5 he's gonna play. I'm pretty sure. Right. You play knight f4. And now knight f3 loses its purpose because there's nothing to attack. If you go check here, I just go here. It's nothing. Okay? So now the only idea left is knight d3. But now I can simply take. And first include that move rook c5. Very important. Queen b4. Because c5 is just a strong move, just deflecting the queen from here. Because just attacking piece. Just take the pawn. Attacking the bishop now. Look at that, knight d5 comes in with a tempo. You take, I take. One more move to attack. Queen f4, exchange queens. And up 2 pawns, 2 pawns. 2 pawns is, you cannot draw. 1 pawn, maybe. 2 pawns, it's a loss. Yeah, if you're wondering why not take this, now we have a very important check. If you go here, I simply take, and you cannot take back, you're pinned. And if you had gone to the h file, now we see the problem of pushing your h pawn. You're going to run into the rook h5 mate. Okay? Queen b4 is very strong. After queen e4, again, evaluation goes all the way to the 2-pawn advantage here. And that's like with a perfect play for black. Knight e5, knight f4. And now things are just not looking good here for black, because the pieces are passive. You never want to play a move like f5 here, because of knight e6 is going to come in. I can even play preventing move king h1 and then try to pick up the h5 pawn. I have all these ideas. All I need is one more safe move, put the king on h1, then I can take on b5. Yeah, it's just game over here. What I did was, logical move, bishop e3, I played with confidence thinking, wait a minute, now I'm taking bishop f7 check, takes rook c7 check, picking up on b7. But all these ideas are not that strong because the knight comes in. Knight comes in, and now he's threatening this knight f3 check. And on top of that, he's threatening knight d3. So this bishop b3 move was a serious oversight on my part. Because now, and suddenly from a really bad position, now he's got a good position. So I went here, just try to stay away from that. He goes here. I say, OK, I'm ready to give up the rook. All I want is knight off the board. Okay? Of course, he should take the rook. But in a blitz game, you know, I think I like my active pieces here. I mean, I'm threatening rook c7, and I have some chances. I'm down the exchange. In a classical game, maybe not much. But in a blitz game, I think I have some chances. But now he plays here. And now, of course, you have to just take here this knight. This knight is just too strong. Just take it off. If you take with the rook, it's not end of the world. I can just go here. My bishop is more active than this bishop. 1 pawn deficit is not a huge deal in this position. If he takes back with a pawn, then this is important. You play the move f3. Shut down the bishop. And line continues. You know, and I mean, I can bring my king to e3, and it's a very big question here, whether or not he can win this game. Because my king is coming to e3, then I can play f4, I can take on d3. These pawns are not going anywhere. They are securely blocked. So it's not going to be an easy game for him here. He's better still. Not going to be an easy win. But from here on, I think my position went down the hill. I had to take this knight off the board. I went here, played a good move. King h1 again. He goes here. Now I can't take anymore. And he won the game spectacularly, actually. I want to show you the finish. I was hoping maybe I can do something. I think I had one more try here. Yeah, I think this is already lost. Oh, I think maybe I had. Yeah, I think this is just bad already, guys. But anyway, I just want to show you the finish here. I took here, thinking maybe if he takes, I can do something. Maybe rook takes f7. Small chance, but now he played here. And now here, he's winning clearly. But can you win the game spectacularly? Queen g2. Yeah, and just king h2 and mate. So as you see, very quickly, things turn out to be bad for me. Just that knight. See, like, it's a good example that shows that even one piece, one active piece, can make a difference. You know, can make a difference, and he was able to turn the game around here. I mean, here I'm, you know, it's a very big advantage here. I show you guys. It's this is a weaker engine, but you let it run for a while. It goes all the way to about 2-pawn advantage. Again, he has to play knight e5, knight f4, but again, it's showing 1, but it goes higher. So yeah, that was a tough loss in this year's World Rapid and Blitz. The first Magnus Carlsen won the tournament. It was not easy, but he managed to win the tournament. So the next game is from the World Rapid and Blitz Championship. I'm playing a very young, strong Norwegian international master, young player. So I have the white pieces in this game. d4, knight f6, c4, e6, a6. To my surprise, he plays the move a6. I was slightly puzzled by this move, but okay, I've seen it. You know, I say, okay, let me play something else different. I go there. d5. Now I transpose to my Carlsbad system. Bishop e7. I believe here a6 kind of loses the purpose a little bit because I don't know how useful this is. So now plays bishop g4. Again, he's playing very quickly, you know, and I don't want to test him in the theoretical parts here because, you know, there could be a lot of questions here, you know. question number one, can I take? What happens here? I don't know. He's got 2 pawns hanging here. I have questions here. And he needs to answer to these questions. Engines, they don't seem very impressed with this. They think he can even play this. And why can't we take? Knight b4. And engines are not very impressed. We can win this back. Are you going to run into straight? We're going to run into a straight c5 here, which clearly indicates that we are in trouble here. King is in the middle, the position gets opened up. No good. So yeah, it's a lot of questions here. A lot of questions. So he played, I say, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to play my own game. I'm not going to try to get out of track. I just play my game. I play h3. First, I wanted to know what is he going to do, because I don't think he wants to go here. Because this, I thought this I will play, no? I thought this I will play gladly. g5, bishop here, some h4 ideas. I'll be okay here. I'm better, I think. So he took. Now the question is, how should I take? I decided to get creative and take gf, hoping that maybe I can do something on a g file. However, I think if you take like this, I think you have a slight advantage here. I'm pretty sure this is a little bit better for white. Okay? But it's just a different game, solid game. Now I go here, I go here. Rook c1. This is a useful move. At some point, I'm also looking forward to play maybe bishop b1, queen d3, let a battery on the diagonal. So it's good to have the rook here. He goes c6, f4. I have to play this move to take away some squares and also open up the diagonal for my queen. Now he jumps in immediately with knight e4. I take. He take. I have to take this knight. This knight is too strong. If I allow him to play knight df6, he's the only one who could be better. So I have to take this to close up the position. Rook g1. Unusual position, because I haven't castled here. And doesn't look like I'm going to castle in this game. But I got the g file. I got some c file action here. Computer thinks it's just equal. He's not super impressed by my play here. He thinks it's nothing too special here. But I like the position during the game. I thought for a rapid game, this is a rapid game. This is not a blitz. This was now, we go back to the rapid tournament. I thought I'm happy with my position here. Now he played here. Knight f6. You have to be careful like opening up the position. So moves like d5 you never really want to do here, because my king is in the middle. So it's a little bit tricky here. If the king was on b1, I would feel a lot more comfortable. But the king is only 1. And I'm not even sure if I want to put it here, because, you know, this pawn can be attacked. Queen e6, queen h3. Some questions. So what should I do now here? Which piece you think I should try to activate here? Knight a4.
So
Knight a4, yeah.
right. Well, queen. That's what I was gonna suggest. Queen b3. Activate the queen. And then yeah, maybe knight a4, knight c5 in the future, or knight b6 even. Yeah. So queen b3 would be mine.
Yeah, I did play queen b3. I like this move because it's also attacking b7. Also, you never know. Maybe he blunders something like this. You never know. Things happen in a blitz games. Okay. You know. Queen is well placed here. Now he goes b5. Again, a young player trying to play aggressively, you know. I think rook a d8 would have been a little bit more solid, you know, with knight d5. He goes here now. Of course, you know, he wants to kind of shut down my queen, shut down the knight a4 ideas. Move is fine. No big objections on that. Move is fine. what can you do here?
Rerouting the knight
Uh-huh.
by
Uh-huh. To where?
depending on their moves, you can either play f5, knight f4.
Yep. f5, knight f4, or knight g3, knight f5. So yeah, I looked at the positions like, okay, my rook on g1 is fine, my rook on c1 is fine, queen is fine. Which piece is doing absolutely nothing, yeah, basically. And I said, okay, let me do this. And this knight g3 is a very interesting idea because he played here normal, boom. And now he started thinking, I could sell. He was not comfortable. You know, he is like, knight f5 is coming. And again, if you play g6, knight f5 anyhow. And here our favorite tactic, rook g6, comes in. So, by the way, if he goes here still, this is just superb tactic. So, okay, I go here. So here he had to think a little bit, which gave me the nice time advantage. He's thinking, and he played here, king h8. And now, unfortunately, if I play this move, he goes here. If you take with the rook, queen takes f5. Okay? If you take, here's this. Okay? I didn't play knight f5. I didn't play knight f5. I like playing this move. I have a little bit of experience playing this move in this type of position, just to activate a little bit more.
Rook c5.
Rook c5. Knight d5. He tried to shut me down with this. a3. Very important move because he wants to play knight b4, knight d3 check. So if you play one careless move here, you're going to run into a problem with this. But position is strong enough, I think, that you can probably get away with this. You can probably get away by just giving up the exchange here. That's how strong your position is here. I think you can even take like this and stick a knight on d6 there. I think you have good compensation. But again, why? Why allow this? Just play a quiet move, a3, to stop that. Queen h4, activating. So, okay, queen c2, queen h3. He wins my pawn. I don't want to take because he takes, he plays rook c8. I don't want to allow that to happen. So what do? I want to make sure I get my pawn back here, right? Because I don't want to be down a pawn.
Rook c6.
Takes.
Queen takes.
Rook c8. There could be some back rank invasion. Back rank invasion, maybe. Be careful, okay? Be careful. All right. So, how about we eliminate the central pawn first? Okay? It looks a little scary, but it's okay. As long as we keep the knight on g3, we're fine. Because for endgame purposes now, we can go to a lot of the endgames and we're going to be better, okay? For example, now I have queen f5 ideas here. I go here. Knight f6. Activating the knight. Big mistake. Big mistake, knight f6 move. He should have realized it's time to bring the queen back home. Queen did his job winning this pawn. He should have brought it back to e6. And white is a little bit better here still. I was going to try to play maybe like move my king away, something like this. I don't want to be sitting under this tactic. Maybe I can even play king d2, maybe. But I thought I was just going to play here. So now he played a big mistake, knight f6 here. And now you're going to be able to take advantage of this. Okay? you are going to be able to take advantage of this and get a big advantage here. So very special first move here needed. Very, very special. No, we can't move the knight. We can't move the knight. If you put the pawn on f5, are you trying to trap the queen with rook? He does have queen g4 escape though. It's not like you're going to be winning the queen. You are better though there. f5 you are better, okay? But maybe not that much, just maybe slightly better.
Didn't calculate it fully, but rook g5 is at least fun to look at.
Rook g5, very interesting move. Because if it takes, you have rook g1, h1. Take, and take on g5. That looks like an advantage. The only issue is, can he play queen e6 back there? Because now the rook is hanging.
Yeah, then
Rook h1. King g8, we have rook h6. Well, that's very interesting. Rook g5. But there is the move I played, I think, is stronger, and you will see. Once you find this move, you will see why, because it forces the matters. It really forces the matters.
let's just say rook h1 first.
Rook h1 first, queen e6. Queen e6, maybe some queen b3, he can go later. Rook h1 is a key idea here. Rook h1 is the key idea in this position. But what can we do first?
I'm calculating rook h5, but I don't think it's any good.
Wait, rook h5? And if knight takes?
Rook h1, but I don't think it's enough.
Yeah, but he can even play queen h1 if nothing else. Yeah,
Right.
he already has two. He already has two rooks there. So rook f5 is very interesting because you actually close the door on him. Queen cannot go back anymore. And there is some potential there to trap the queen. And things are not, I don't think things are looking very good for him after rook f5. Calculate a little bit more so you can see. But the key to shut down this queen, he was certainly not very happy because that rook h1 is very strong threat. And if rook f5 played, and if he plays something like this, you can even do this. Check, picks up the queen. Okay? And now,
I played just like a pass, like rook f8. I know this isn't challenging, but
rook f8, you can, but that's going to be a checkmate soon. Your king is too weak. Simply too weak here, the king. And that's the idea. You want to take and play rook h1. So when I played this, he realized this is very serious now. This is very serious here. He played knight e4, activating his knight. I was looking at the position, trying to understand how should I proceed here, because I can also just play rook takes f7. I wasn't so sure why I can just do this. In fact, this might be a little bit stronger than what I did. Because what is he going to do now? If you take, I take, attack. You don't even check. Thank you very much. I mean, this is not going to work for you very well. I don't know why I didn't take, honestly. I could certainly take. I went here. You know, you see a line that you can win a queen, you go for it. But now looking at it, I think rook f7 is fine. I don't see anything he really can do. I don't know. What is he going to do this? I can't even do this, right? Check and take. So, all right. So he went here. I went here. Now he takes. I take, he takes. So we end up in this position, which became a little bit of a work to win because he's fighting. He's this, you know, young guy, and you know he's got nothing to lose. Fighting. I push. I want to get to f6, and now he goes here. Now he's got dual threats now. Knight g5, knight d2. I say, okay. Let's not blunder any forks, okay? Because, you know, there's a knight d2 check too. Like, so after queen, here he decides that he wants to get active here. I was thinking maybe he should play f6, but it's a really a set position for him after this, you know. I can even just play b4 if I want to, just to control. But he played here. Now I say, okay, there are many different ways to continue. Let me play nicely. So I went there. I wanted to win in style, so I played rook h6, check. Now I don't want to take, I want to push. I want to get that pass pawn rolling in. h6 is hanging as well. Now he goes here, c4. Okay, let's take another pawn. Now the king is really exposed. He goes here. Okay, I take another pawn. I take another pawn. Now he goes here. He wants to split my pawns. Okay, I want to have connected pass pawns, but now with this move he wants to split my pawns. I'm probably still winning if I just take, but is there a way that we can keep our pawns intact? Yes. Attacking the rook and attacking on c3. Look at that move. And I say, okay, if you want to really split pawns, you go here, I take this one. Then I have 4 extra pawns. So he takes, I take. Now we got to this position. Again, normally, you know, there's a good chance people will resign in something like this in a classical chess. But he keeps playing. Okay, I push. I probably should go to g2, but okay, I say, okay, I activate. The way this works is actually, I can't keep everything under control. I got to probably give up some of my pawns. I should have put the king on g2. Putting the king on e2 was not a good idea. So now here I realize I should give up 1 pawn. But I already had a clear idea what I'm going to do. f4. Give up 1 pawn, okay? Queen c5. Check. Put the pawn. I'm putting a pawn on f6 because then I can go queen g7, check, and pick up f7. I'm trying to win the f7 pawn here. Okay? He goes here. Let's go. Pawn on f6, that's called a wedge pawn, right? The wedge pawn, the strong pawn. Now, he goes here, he's trying to escape. Let's bring him back. Let's push this one, okay? Now we're threatening to play a6, okay? I have that pawn on f6, it's very nice. So he can't really move anything. He can move this rook here, I take this guy. If he goes here, I check, I take this guy. So queen is a very strong piece, so it's very hard to defend this position. Now I check, I push. Because now, if he slides away, I check and I take. So if he goes here, take. Now I'm winning the rook. Check. 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 And he finally resigned here because there is nothing really to do here. Okay? Very interesting game, but I want to go back again to the critical part here. I think this is where he made a move knight f6. Let's analyze this a little bit further here. So the evaluation here is, it's in my favor here. But it's not, it's not like I'm just winning here. And again, when your queen gets stuck on h3, you have to be a little bit careful here, okay? You always want to make sure your queen can go back home. So it looks like for a moment he can stay there a little bit longer. Engine suggests some improving moves like a5 and b4 to do something here. Again, not easy to do, but again, you can also play queen d7 here, just to go back home. And I have to play the move f5. That's part of the idea. So I can put the knight on h5 here. And then you put the knight on f6 to defend. King goes to f1. Rook e d8. We need to get rid of this knight, guys. So I'm in favor of this knight e4 idea. I'm in favor to get rid of this guy. Now we're threatening f6, so he has to play this. Now we go here. I mean, this is really enjoyable. Now put the rook here. I mean, that's just a very serious backward pawn. I mean, this is just very, very serious backward pawn here. And now we just really trying to clump this position here. We improve, getting ready to play d5. Wow, this is nice actually. You set up like this and now you play d5 because you have already 3 attackers. You have 3 attackers on c7. And he doesn't have a good way to defend. And here, if he tried to stay, let's say here, this is very nice. You just go for the end game. Check. f5, trying to cement the position. Again, cannot move anywhere, and d5 is coming. So something like this, let's say, then you can even improve the position with this. Improve it more. Improve. And take everything. So again, you cannot play passively in a position like this. So whenever you have structures like this where opponent has such a weak backward pawn, just keep it in mind that all the endgames you're going to have a tremendous advantage. It doesn't really matter the pieces, but of course with the rooks it makes it even easier to attack, but it's just lots of weaknesses. And you just double up and put pressure, okay? An idea to see this move, knight f5, rook f5. The reason I saw this move, because when I put the rook on c5, even from here, guys, one of my original ideas here is I wanted to put a rook on e5, actually. That way I can attack the queen and also take the e4 pawn. And that's the reason why he played knight d5, because he really didn't want me to put the rook on e5. And that was my idea, to put the rook on e5 and try to just simply surrender and win this pawn on e4. So when he did that, now it's blocked, and I was looking for these opportunities to swing over. Another idea, a3. Is this a kind of move that you would think about during the game? Or this is just a little bit too slow, you think? But it's got a clear idea, right? Knight b4, knight d3, he wants to come in. What you want to do? Prevent that from happening. Okay? So you don't want to make sure he doesn't come in. So again, it's important to know your ideas, but also you want to anticipate to what his opponent is trying to do and prevent his idea. Positional move, again, anticipating his idea of knight b4, knight d3 coming in. I think it was an important move to play. And here, difficult situation for him. In a normal, if his queen was normal place, he would have played f5. And I think he would hang on to this. But he went for this active pawn here, and after this move, I put him in a difficult spot here, because if he plays the move f5 now, I think I just take. And I think this is really bad now. Takes, takes. Now it's hanging. And he doesn't have any rook c8 or any other good ideas. If he goes here now, this is hanging too. No good. If you go here, I might even just take this pawns if I really want to win pawns, you know. I don't see a reason why I cannot just take this pawns. Rook c8, I can play king d2. Yeah. Yeah, there is no reason why we cannot take pawns. Yeah, after queen c2, yeah, perhaps, maybe he could have started with this move. Because I don't want to take now, because if I take now, I think I'm losing to this tactic. Okay, so I cannot take now. I was going to take this. Maybe this he can play like this. Yeah, and now there is some counterplay on a c file. If this happened, my idea was to play the move rook c5 and shut it down. I just put the rook on c5, say shut it down. You know, not gonna allow him to do anything. Okay. I like my position, but again, I think this would have been an interesting game here. Rook c5, knight f6. You know, I play my favorite b4, and maybe king g8. It looks like it's a game here. Okay, so he could have done this, and probably it would have been okay. And the last moment here, guys, for this game, we're doing a little over review of the all the potential ideas, and rook f5, very important. See exclamation mark. So this is a kind of move you need to think about. Okay, this simply shuts down the queen. Okay, that's a game-winning move, basically. Okay, the game went on because I was a little bit careless in my conversion, obviously. Here, yeah, well, I could just win. Rook h5 just wins the game, looks like, immediately. Rook f7. I played the third strongest move, rook h1, see? I felt like there were other. Rook f7 was strong too. Rook h5 just wins the piece. Even. Rook h5 just wins the piece, basically. If you go back here, this is just a mating attack. Rook g7. But again, this is really necessary. I'm not even sure. I looked at this, actually. I remember now. I saw this, and I was like, I knew that this was winning, because, you know, how could this not be winning, you know, this position? How could this not be winning, for example? I saw this, but I was like, do I need to sacrifice? But, of course, yeah, you should play this. And just rook g6 is coming up here as well. And if you go here, rook h1. The king, lone king will never survive in a position like this, okay? I have knight g5 ideas coming up too. So that could have been a quicker win here, okay? Once again, guys, remember about the move rook f5, okay? Shut down opponent queen. And be careful when you come in with the queen. Make sure you have your route back. Very important to have that, okay? So after rook f5, it's game over. 3-pawn advantage here for white, okay? All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining the class today, and we'll see you next time, okay? Good. All right.
I love your sci-fi glasses. It was really, really cool still. Oh, huh. Oh, it's really cool. I like it. All right. Hello, everyone. This is the Masters class. Just a fair warning, it's going to change its name very soon. I'm not going to spoil it right now, what's going to be the new name, but it's going to change. Anyways, we're still kind of going to stick with a similar topic that we discussed previous time. That's why I labeled it and just gave the title The Decisive Game. And this is sort of a matchup. I'm just going to give you a little bit of an intro to this game here. So Dominguez is playing Judit Polgar, and Dominguez is in the lead. So Dominguez is up 1 point. He won the first game with the black pieces versus Judit. Therefore, he only needs half a point in this matchup, and then he's going to go through. On the other hand, Judit obviously will have to try to score the whole point, otherwise she'll have to go home. And for anything else, if she manages to win, then there's going to be a tiebreak, so on and so forth. So, before we get into it, I do want to ask you, how would you try to play this game as Dominguez? Would you try to get your luck? Try to play aggressively? Would you mix it up? What would be your strategy in this case?
Was this how the World Cup?
This is the World Cup, yes.
How many matches are there? Like, how many games between?
So, because this was at the World Cup, so the knockout event, there's 2 classical games. This is classical game number 2.
Then I think you just play for a draw, right? Like, play for something equal.
Okay.
Because you're already up 1-0. You have to make Judit push.
So play something safe, play for a draw. Okay.
Yeah, play solid.
Play solid, okay. Now, Dominguez is going to do something that is somewhat unusual. He doesn't go completely for the solid. And despite of what people like to do, you know, hindsight 2020, is that they criticize decisions because they know the result. We're not going to do that this time. And it may be some other time I might get into it a little deeper. Previous class, we also looked at a decisive game. Very similar. So Dominguez actually does what he always does, plays e4. This is his bread and butter. This is how he plays his games. Never really strays much from this one. c5, knight f3, knight c6. And I think Judit's choice is pretty good. It's a Sicilian. Now, if d6, I've seen more than a handful, 2800 plus, who played bishop b5 check, but I already discussed this in a little bit previous case. But knight c6 kind of keeps a lot of tension, and even if Dominguez would be tempted to go bishop b5, there's a lot of options here. Black could go e6, which is getting more topical, or g6, which has been a very popular way of playing, and this has been played in the Caruana-Carlsen match. But there's a lot of things happening. It's not like the game ends in a draw because you trade a pair of pieces. In fact, Black would get the bishop pair, so there is something to fight for. But Dominguez chooses the most straightforward way, goes d4, queen b6, and a very peculiar little sideline. It's trying to overwhelm the knight. Does any of you know the name of this? Or heard of it? Or seen this type of play? No? Chelyabinsk variation. So the Chelyabinsk comes from the same move order, but it's this one. This. Yeah, but I do believe the Chelyabinsk is connected to the Sveshnikov. Don't quote me there, but something reminds me that that should be it. So queen b6 is one of the lines that Judit liked playing at that time, and with good result beat Ivanchuk, and plays it again against Dominguez as a surprise. And it's also a semi-surprise because she already played it before, and that's one of those things that do happen a lot. You can completely surprise your opponent after a while. Some things will happen. This is called the Grivas variation, named after Grandmaster Grivas from Greece. So knight b3, knight f6, knight c3. It's possible to go bishop d3, but here in this case, because the knight is not controlling d5, Black can go and play d5, and you might dare take the h-pawn, but even if you do, there's compensation for Black, and it's not that fantastic. White's pieces are a little bit all over the place. So he just goes knight c3 and e6. Now, you do have to go e6 sooner or later, because this knight d5 jump would be very annoying. So for example, if g6, knight d5, takes, let's say you move the knight here, which is already a little dodgy. Say bishop e3, queen f6, f4 already is winning the knight. Not to mention d6 could also be an idea, and I'm showing it even though f4 is pretty strong. You can't move your pieces. So this is bad for myriads of reasons. But of course, she wanted to play e6 already. Okay, so, and this is one of the things I often do in my classes. I want you to test yourself a little bit. And what would you do here instead of Dominguez? What would come to your mind? And this is sort of that typical Sicilian, but is also different from like the poison pawn of the Najdorf and openings such as that, because here theory is a bit more fluid. You can actually build your own plan, whereas in the Najdorf, things are a bit more mapped out. Is that e3 or d3? E3. E3. Okay. So bishop e3. And if I go here, well, yeah, knight b5 is interesting. You do have to mind your e-pawn, because even if you chase my queen away, you still have to lose some time defending that guy. You mean bishop d3 now, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, bishop d3, and just try to play for queen d2 and long castle.
There's also. So bishop e3,
Bishop c5.
It's a little tricky.
Yeah, so
Now now if he takes the trade, you're getting pawn and you're threatening knights.
yeah, so
Aggressive, but
yeah, it's probably a bit too aggressive.
you are taking away casting rights for your.
That's true, but you do lose the pawn. Now, even though we look for an option, or like looking at what to play as Dominguez, don't forget, you're up a whole point, so you might not want to risk that much. So I'm not saying that what you're saying is wrong, but you are giving up a pawn, and she's sort of hoping that the things will just get a little messier.
Bishop e3, queen c7,
Uh-huh.
f3.
Okay. And I guess going the English attack way.
Yeah.
hmm
Looks
Yeah. So the most popular ways of playing, one of them obviously bishop e3 is by far the most popular, is bishop d3. Sometimes they even go pawn f4 just to force black to defend against that. f3 is also an option. Sometimes they do wonder if black can actually get to d5, because compare this to the Taimanov. Black often has to go and play pawn to a6. And in this case, they're actually winning a tempo. So that might be making Polgar's chances just a little bit better. So let's see what Dominguez chose. Dominguez chose bishop g5. And bishop g5, I think this is his home cooking, something that he wanted to try out against this system. And just to answer the chat, one of the ways of getting better at chess is doing a bunch of puzzles and also trying to figure out positions and ways you would play it. Now, Dominguez goes bishop g5, and bishop g5 really wants to have this Najdorf type of play, which, as you'll see, he is going to get. So a6, and even though you'd be thinking, well, wait, isn't she worried about the doubling? And not really, because compared to other positions, black actually gets a lot of dark squared control. And if you look at Najdorf's, white already has a pawn on f4, and black still has ways of jamming white's plans. So taking would be a bit early. So goes queen f3. Typical Nijmedinov play. He loved playing it this way without f4. f4 here again sort of runs into the same issue that you can't just go bishop h4. I have queen e3 check. And you're going to lose something if you trade a queen. Well, that's also not ideal if we're thinking attacking chances. So goes queen f3, and I label Dominguez's play more of like classical aggressive. He's not throwing anything at Judit yet, but is sort of developing smoothly without committing pawns on certain squares. So bishop e7, queen g3, trying to take away squares. d6, castles, castles. So question number 2, how to follow up from here. And believe it or not, these are like very important. These are kind of critical moments where you kind of decide the direction of the game. Because as you said earlier, if you go f3, you kind of committed yourself to the English attack, good or bad, it's going to happen. Here, because the way Dominguez posted his pieces, he can still choose different directions. Is this really live? Ben, is this really live?
Yeah, this is live.
It is live. Ben confirms.
F4 and H4 are two candidates.
F4 and H4 for sure.
Also like
King
King B1.
B1, you can never go wrong with King B1. It's on the slower end. Of course, you can do F4, H4. Now, even though we mentioned both F4 and H4, which one would you choose? Because you can only play one. Believe it or not. Some people are wilding out with rook takes d6, but I feel that, hey, first of all, you just joined. This is a mini match, and you're like, well, whatever. I'm just going to give up my rook. Let's go. That might be a little bit too much. Not saying it's bad. I'm saying it might be a bit risky.
I prefer to play bishop e3 to cut that 4.
Bishop
E3.
E3? And then F4. Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Then you run into.
Yeah. You decide to pull back the bishop. Okay. That's interesting too. So again, four.
If I was trying to play for a draw, I would
Okay.
play F4.
You'd go for F4.
Play to restrict, control the E5 square.
Okay. Playing for restriction.
H4 is like, it's more saying I'm just going to check.
Mhm. So there's plenty of suggestions of taking here. This unfortunately runs into these ideas. So that doesn't work. He goes King B1.
Is that?
Yeah.
Well, in that situation, would you just take the knight and rook?
Come again?
You should just take the knight and rook in that situation. So
Bishop
bishop takes.
takes.
Rook takes.
Oh yeah, you're right. That's a good point. That's a good point.
The bishop general.
That's a good point.
I don't know the other round that also works.
No, that's very sourceful. Now, and that kind of connects to one thing that Carlsen said, and I completely disagree. So Carlsen said, oh, don't do any puzzles because it's not worth it. Now, to kind of translate in a different way, if a bodybuilder tells me, oh, don't work out, it's worthless. It's not going to be worth it for you. Well, if you're starting out, you still need to build some muscles to be able to even have a bit of weightlifting going on. See, I need some weightlifting myself because I clearly missed this idea. So thank you for pointing that out. So you always have to keep practicing to get better. And, when you're talking and asking advice from a, 2800 super grandmaster, they might not know what you need, and you might need to build those muscles first. Probably me too. I was also wondering about this, but I still have this rook going gung-ho and just taking everything. And funnily enough, the queen is still, well, it's not trapped. It still can go here, but we are up a piece. But this will come back because we'll have some drama happening in a couple of moves. So here, F4, bishop D3, and in some sense we've got into a classical Sicilian mixed with the Najdorf. And he's got some plans for that bishop. So B5, queen H4. He's clearly angling at the H7 pawn, and the bishop is right there to help out. H6. And this is the big moment. Are we going all in? And that's actually the beauty of these very dynamic positions. You don't have multiple choices. It's a yes or no type of question.
I would, but you don't want my advice.
I absolutely want your advice. You would? Survey says, yes, you should. Perfect.
The alternative is pretty bad.
Yes, the alternatives aren't particularly appealing. You don't want to give Judit a pair of bishops practically for free. You also don't want to push this pawn because I will hit and attack the queen. Therefore, capturing is correct. Takes, queen takes. And you might be wondering, wait a second, Denes. You just said we only need a draw. Well, how does this make any sense? Well, an attack, even if it's not perfect, can end in a perpetual. That is still perfect for Dominguez. So getting an attack, and you're actually just down a single pawn. If we just do the chess math, 3 pawns, but you got only 2 for the bishop. And I think this king feels a little bit breezy. So it's not a cakewalk for Judit. So she plays knight e8. Very, very clever move. The thing is, if she doesn't, e5 might come, which will come anyways, and there are multiple threats. But knight e8, the reason why this is pretty good is that she gets extra options. She doesn't have to respond directly to e5 when it comes. She'll get extra options to choose from. Also, she can't move this bishop because the knight is hanging.
I was going to ask, what about just e5? Just stopping. I
You-
stop your bishop.
Yeah, you could go e5, but then you run into knight d5.
Sure.
And the issue is that, sadly for us, the queen is blocked from the d8 square, and if takes, then it's GG, yo, it's over. The bishop queen is coming in, and you're also going to lose the piece, or else you're going to lose the piece. So e5 is definitely an option. She just doesn't have the time to do it. So knight e8, of course, Dominguez goes e5 himself. So, well, Piazza, it is indeed live at the chess club. I don't know what to tell you. But the bigger question is there a way Judit can fend off the first wave of the attack?
I guess the point is knight g7.
Well, knight g7, you get mated.
Oh, it's
It is f5.
There's only one that
Yeah. Anything else just fails
bishop h7.
because it's mate. So f5 is mandatory.
exactly opposite now.
Yeah. So f5,
But the parmesan would not be good because you're releasing queen, bishop recaptures, and then you're just probably fine.
yeah.
So I'd probably play g4.
And in fact, he played bishop f5, but should have played something along the lines of g4. But tension, and people are getting nervous. And even though like computers tell you, oh, this is winning, you're down a piece, nothing is clear, so he wants something for that piece sacrifice. So the reason why Dominguez chooses bishop takes f5, that he's going to get something for his buck. So bishop takes f5 was played, which is not ideal, but it's still not bad.
Have to have something extremely concrete here.
Yeah, I mean, this is as concrete as it gets.
The rook, e3, g4, g3 plans.
Well, sure, that's a great plan, but it's,
It's not enough, I don't say it.
yeah, but it is black to move. So,
Right.
think you have to take it. But there's no.
All he has bishop f8 first. If you want.
You could also think of that, yes.
You give it another shot.
So she takes first.
Any question?
Queen 7, Queen 3, Queen 6.
Well, the queen of all ideas is in between moves.
Bishop f8.
Bishop f8, of course. Bishop f8, because even though she's under pressure, and there's many of her pieces still sitting in a garage, but two pieces, so she can give back material if she so needs to. So bishop f8 takes, knight takes, and she actually manages to trade off the bigger pieces, but she's got a pair of bishops, and Dominguez has a rook and pawns. So takes. So in that sense, Judit managed to avoid the worst, but we are now in an ending. Knight b6. Okay, so big question here. What should Judit be striving for, and what should Dominguez be striving for?
I think white should try to win f5 and push the h and g pawns together.
Okay, so do some damage, maybe even trade the bishop.
Yep. Trade so that we can
Mhm.
target f5.
Okay, so if white wants to trade, then Judit definitely doesn't want to trade because she needs them bishops. So she keeps it on the board. Now, and that's a brilliant thing that's brought up in chat. Does Dominguez want to trade of a pair of rooks? No?
I feel like the answer is yes.
Why? Why would you say
This
you
is
want to
something
trade?
I've heard randomly.
Okay.
But when you're like depriving black of the rook, while we have a rook, is going to be stronger versus. We can showcase the difference between our rook versus compared like we have two rooks, but he still has a rook that does something similar to our one. I don't know if that made any sense at all.
That made perfect sense. And in fact, that's something that Dominguez could look forward to and try to get there. Try to have that trade of rooks, because then black be lacking that. The bishop pair would be stronger. The bishop pair will get stronger as the game goes on. So knight d5, king f7. She's bringing the king, as she should, mostly to make sure the knight joins the battle. Knight f6, knight g4. Going for the trade of knights. Because this knight, as you said, is pressing the f5 pawn. If that pawn falls, kind of all of black's hope of winning the game fades completely. So for her to go knight g4 is a must. So knight takes, f takes, knight d4. So we're liquidating and we're getting really close to an ending. I mean, still rooks on the board, so maybe a little middle game-ish, but not for long. So knight takes, rook takes. Of course, she wants to keep the bishops. Now, we get a peculiar ending with white having a zillion pawns, but black having the two pieces and pawns on each side. They're not ideal necessarily, but this pawn does hold up these two. Now if we go bishop e7, we go against all the things we said, trading off our last rook. So what should white be doing? Remember, white is happy with a draw. Yeah, if you trade your rook for the bishop, it's still not quite enough.
No, I'm saying like
Uh-huh.
pin it so now it's difficult for him to unravel without
Uh-huh.
using the rook.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So now
Okay.
if you double attack the rook bishop, then he has to figure out how to unravel without
Mhm.
hanging the rook and then without trading the rook
Mhm.
off and then
Mm-hmm.
but two bishops is I've been told by people that two bishops like Havard and Grandmaster that two bishops is really good against the rook, even with the pawn differences.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that there's no pass pawns and there's no pressure on the white side of pawns because the pawns on the back rank, I don't know how much that matters, especially with more king activity. But
I tend to agree with all of what you said. Bishops are very strong, and I wouldn't say that I'd want to underestimate the bishops. Obviously, they're quite strong. Even, yeah, it's still not easy to navigate this. Now, if we trade all them pawns, what would be the evaluation for you guys?
That's a draw.
It's a draw.
I
Okay.
imagine that's nice for the white.
Okay. So actually, that's what Dominguez will try to do. So bishop c7.
So one question I have.
Yeah.
So one thing I was like, how
Mhm.
can would white ever sack the exchange to take the g4 pawn here, or no? Because that's what like
Yeah,
I can't
mhm.
ever get rid of g4, right?
So as you'll see, actually Dominguez finds a way to do it. I'll show it in a minute. It kind of depends. And you know what? When we'll get there, I'll explain it. I do want to show a couple of moves before I get into that. Bishop c7, I guess, even though I said the rook trade is not ideal, I guess she thought that, well, you have to untangle. Otherwise, if you don't untangle, there's no way forward. And sometimes you do have to make concessions. And she might have thought that these pawns, as they're kind of locked by the g-pawn, possibly if the king can come over, let's say after the trades, eventually if you can come over, win those pawns, you'll have a passed pawn, and that is technically winning. And the rook can't really just wander around because the bishop can, so let's say this rook goes all the way, then black has that way of going behind those pawns, try to capture them. So it's not without a chance. So check, rook e4, rook g8, a4. So he's slowly trying to get rid of the pawns. Trades, rook f5, rook h5, and he's trying to set up some tricks and also manages to trade it off. Now, here I'm going to answer your question of how about sacrificing and then winning the pawn. There's always a big question how you evaluate the position. Do you evaluate the position that your position is going to hold from strength, meaning you don't have to suffer, you have enough pieces on the board that you don't have to exert yourself to even have to defend it? That makes sense. So white could consider giving up the rook for the bishop and the pawn and saying, okay, if it comes to rook, bishop, rook, I'm just going to defend. And a lot of the things that these top players have to ask themselves, am I comfortable putting myself into that position, or do I want my opponent to get there? Because if you give up the rook for the bishop and pawn, most likely you are going to have to defend it. So he probably argues, maybe I don't have to do it. maybe my position is strong enough that she can't get there. Can I tell which one is correct? Probably the best one is to trust that you are capable of holding a theoretical draw, then avoiding a theoretical draw in hopes that it's never going to occur.
Your belief in the position matters more than
Yes.
actual evaluation.
Yes, if you're able to prove it, you know that you're going to be able to prove that that is a draw. It might be a smarter choice to go there than go for something that's unclear. Why wouldn't he suffer? I'm sure such a strong player as him shouldn't have any trouble holding. All right, so let's take a look what happens. So here, he does manage to take the pawn, and he probably argued. And there's a bit of fog of war that is never really told to you, because even top players don't like to show you that they're unsure. And for him, he could have thought that, okay, this should be fine. And actually, he's not completely off. Engines don't say that he's losing. He's not losing at this moment. King d7, check. King c6. He does lose the pawn, though. Bishop takes. Rook here. And now, obviously, we're heading towards the end part of the game. Nobody has much of the time left. So everybody kind of makes moves quickly, round like a minute, between a minute and 5 minutes is where they're at right now. And this is scary because the computer doesn't see ghosts, but we definitely can imagine white getting checkmated. Rook g4, rook a4, and now you can already see that white is getting ready to think of a sacrifice and just give up the rook for the bishop and pawn and say, I'm going to hold this somehow. But then again, that's when you could kind of pull the trigger earlier and said, well, I could do this in a better circumstance. So bishop f4, sneaky, sneaky. You can't take here because check and you lose the rook. Two bishops wins easily. You go here, bishop d2. And already it's getting uncomfortable for Dominguez because the bishop is going to just lock in the king. So there are already some mating patterns emerging. Bishop c3, check. Bishop e4. Rook g2, and you can already spot there's some issues on c2. And this rook on a4 is a bit sidelined. And oftentimes, these things matter for humans, doesn't matter much for computers. But humans are playing in this high-stake moment. Black needs the win, white needs to draw. Rook a2, king b6. And what's sort of annoying for Leinier is that the rook is virtually trapped. Rook d6 check, goes back, bishop f3, king c5. Now, the king is joining. Of course, taking is taboo because it's mate. Bishop e4, king b6. And watch as Judit moves forward slowly. She's not in a rush to exhaust her threats. She's piling pressure. It's not easy not to blunder something in this scenario. Bishop g7, probing. Some tricks. Bishop g2. And these non-moves are actually very painful because she's not threatening anything directly. So therefore, white has to make a move without any directions. One thing that people misunderstand, whenever you play moves such as this, This is the easiest threat to respond any level, because they know that is your threat. If I don't get out of it, it's over. So the only thing I can do is step away. This one is more devious because it doesn't give you a direction. White has to listen to themselves. Rook d2, and just improving it ever so slightly. You're going to fast forward a little bit. She's coming in with her king. Rook h6. Well, say hello to this idea that we mentioned, again pinpointing the fact that his king is stuck. And she's very agile with her rook, moving it all around the board. Bishop d2, softening the pawn. King f2, and slowly this rook is running out of squares. Rook g1, bishop e3. How many squares left? And here comes the offer. So if Judit would takes, and I win the pawn. Technically, it's possible to win these positions, but objectively, it's drawn. But of course, at the caliber of Leinier, 2 pawns, and it's not even the classical rook bishop versus rook, she would have a tough time winning. So of course, she's saying no. It's not enough. I don't want that yet. Bishop d4, king d2, and already this king is getting on a tough spot, even moved towards the side of the board where it shouldn't be. So rook d2, rook d7 that is, bishop takes c2, rook a8, a nice little trick. I wonder if you guys can make a decision. Should she take the rook or not? And while you guys think, you do have to add, notice how there's so many of these critical moments of the game, and it's spread it out, and this is like 6 hours, and they could be like 3-4 hours away from each other. And that's one of the reasons why super GMs and goats of the game, like Vishy Anand, succeed, because they ask questions so far away, it's very difficult to answer correctly for so long. Never take?
I think the answer is yes. Rook h8, rook d4, king c3, rook somewhere, bishop b3.
I might have rook c4 check. So if you take here, here, oh, take, I have rook c4 check.
I see.
Now, but you know,
Rook c4. There.
chess is a sneaky game. There's obvious moves and not so obvious ones.
Going for a stalemate?
Well, he might be trying to, but
But if you take once
Uh-huh.
once a bishop goes away with one.
oh, okay. Well, if black goes king c3, white might just check. And I see what you want. If you go bishop takes b3, there could be some mating ideas, but king c3 just runs into all kinds of checks on the c file. But keep looking. If you keep looking, you'll find it. just like you find your car keys.
I usually find those when I stop looking.
Exactly. There is a bit of irony in that.
King C1, I would.
King c1.
It seems strong. I don't know if it's enough to win that exchange.
King c1 would have won on the spot.
I would miss it.
And they both kind of overlooked it, or overlooked how strong it is. Because,
You can't stop the back.
yeah. So, and if you do, then you get mated.
Like if he takes the bishop, you take the
Well, I mean, I take the rook otherwise, yeah.
you can't stop the
And if you take, then this is mate.
I'm saying like if he takes the bishop
Yeah.
and you take the rook, he can't stop rook c.
Yeah, and they can stop the mate, yes. Yes. And again, as the king gets corner. Now, Judit, who's really good at these puzzles and tactics overall in general, doesn't do it. She actually takes the rook, which is also very good here. But, of course, in a calm moment, she would find king c1. But this is a high-stake moment, and she's like, oh, but this one looks promising. So chooses one good move over another one, overlooking the king c1 move. So takes bishop d3. And for the reason that Dominguez's king is sidelined on the h file, I mean the a file that is, Black has a lot of pressure and is near winning. King c3, rook a4, here rook b2, and in fact Dominguez has a last chance to save the game. But it is just as ecstatic as king c1 was. White actually can set up a stalemate trick which makes it salvageable for white. The problem is that this is a big threat to take the pawn, and also the mate. But white has a surprising resource. The first move is somewhat intuitive. It's not out of this world, so to say. Rook b4, of course, and rook b1. Rook c4 I just capture. There's no stalemate.
Oh, it's
King a2.
Yeah, he takes the rook.
Stalemate. It's quite a spectacular stalemate, and it's not something you see in textbooks. And that's the other thing, is that, you know, you learn all these typical endings, but there's always going to be a new one and something that is not in your textbook, not yet. And this is a beautiful one. Even though white has that extra pawn, it helps out because of that, it's a stalemate. He misses this, moves the rook away, and now he's losing. Takes. Rook b1. Check. You can't go there because you lose the rook. Has to go back, keeping the king locked in. Here. You already can't go here because I've got mate. Here, can go up, it's checkmate. So you go here. Check. Rook g2. Check. So she's not going to be the most precise, and you can't quite expect that from anyone because they only have increments. They get like 30 seconds each. So she's not going to play the best move every single time, but she will try. Check. It is not a theoretical draw anymore because White's king is on a bad spot where it's not supposed to be. Rook h2. And here, Judit finds the winning plan.
Bishop is e2.
If you go bishop c2, I still check you.
Oh,
Yeah. Bishop f1. That's right. That's what she should have done. She does it a little bit later. She does it now, but it's the same position. In fact, Dominguez could have tried to claim. Bishop f1. And the point being that now, whenever your rook is trying to help out in the defense, the rook is actually on white squares. So the bishop is actually covering those squares that you need for help. So now it's game over. Just check. Rook b6, king here, rook here, and you're running out of all these ideas. You don't have defense. You can't go here. I capture you. And even if you defend there, you can't defend from both sides. And therefore, Dominguez resigned, and eventually, in the tiebreakers, Judit won the match. Quite an eventful game, right?
So sorry, what if White goes just like rook h2 here?
Rook h2. Then I check you,
Nice.
and I mate you. I could go here, and the bishop actually helps out. Yeah. So what was very important is to misplace White's rook and make sure that it's on the wrong square. And then she forced the king on a terrible square, and she's going to win the rook and the game later on. So I wanted to show you guys this game. Really hope you enjoyed it. Many ups and downs. I feel that both of them showed high class. Probably Dominguez had to choose to sacrifice earlier. I think he had to face some new problems because even though he correctly assessed the position to be fine and holdable, it wasn't the technical position quick enough so he could figure out the details, and by the time he got there, it was too difficult with low time. So that'd be my assessment, and obviously different people see it in different ways. Any questions before I wrap up?
So in the beginning, you
Uh-huh.
said that he could either be aggressive or
Uh-huh.
be more solid,
Mhm.
and you said he was going to get Monday morning quarterbacked on it.
Mhm.
Did he ever say why he chose to be more aggressive?
I think I don't know if he said so. I think it's more of his style of just, he has this classic aggressive playing style. In some sense, just like Capablanca, just like to play it clean and aggressively, still striving for a win whenever it's possible. And I honestly think it kind of ended in defeat at the very end. So I don't think that his opening decision was to fault. Maybe in the middle game or towards the ending, he could have made a wiser choice of just eliminating all these options and clarifying when he had the time. I don't think that the result was due to the opening. In fact, in some sense, if he followed up his attack even more viciously, he could have put Judit in a tough spot. So it might even have worked even better if he didn't choose something that is more leaning towards the ending. In some sense, there could be some inconsistencies because he chose the ending instead of attacking. If he was more consistent, or I find it more consistent, and just go on with the attack and then see where it goes, then maybe that would have been a better decision. But overall, the opening-wise, I think, is not to blame. Any other questions? So if that's all, thank you so much for coming, and thank you for watching.